Hello students, welcome to today's session. In this session, we are going to discuss the rest of the topics from your JavaScript chapter. We have in the previous class we have discussed what are the uses of JavaScript. Okay. Now in today's session we are going to discuss the event-driven computation, browser and HTML, and how to create a basic JavaScript program. Okay. Now the topic is about event-driven computation and of JavaScript. What does that mean is when you say event is nothing but any action that is performed by the user, like say the user clicks on the mouse, or the user use the keypad or keyboard to type something, he presses a character or something like that. Those kind of actions taken care by the user is considered as events. So the actions are often executed as a response to the actions of the user. In the sense, whenever user does some action, for that the computer is going to generate some response, or the JavaScript has the programs that is used to generate some response. Those response will consider as events. Okay, so if I click something, I'm going to see some image, I'm going to see some changes in the web page. So those type of things are called as events. Based on the events, the response to the event. Okay, so like for example here you can see mouse clicks and form submissions. Okay, so this form of completion or support, that completion that supports user interaction through HTML uh, on the client system, or as I told you, JavaScript will be implemented in two ways. One is client side scripting, other one is server side scripting. Client side scripting is within your computer or within the client. If you are making some uh, executions or some response, if you are generating, that is called as client side scripting. Okay, for example, if you just simply consider, uh, I'll just give you an example program. See, have an example program here on the notepad. See, this is our first consider this is our first JavaScript program. So if you can see, we have the first HTML tag, we have the header tag, within that we have the title tag, that we have discussed all these things: header tag, HTML tag, as well as title tag. Now whenever you want to write a JavaScript, we'll be using a tag called as script tag, and this tag will have some attributes called as type and src. So for this example I'll be using only type. So here if you can see, we have written whatever the thing that I am written within the script tag. These are, or this will be like your JavaScript code. Okay, this JavaScript code will be executed based on the user's action or the user's response. Okay, this script tag can be written in the header tag. Like if you can observe here, we have opening tag of heading here, and on line 11 we have closing tag of this header tag. So within that I can write the script tag, or the script can also be written within body tag. Okay, so there are two places where you can write the script tag. One is within the header tag, and the two with is you can write it also in the body tag. Now in the script tag you can see, first we are right, I have written something called as function. So function represents we are writing a sub function, or the statements that we are going to group together, and we are going to form that as a function, and the function name is message. What is that message? Within that function, what I have a single statement called as alert. Alert is used to give some message or a pop-up window. It is a pop-up window where it will be used for giving some alert message to the user or the person who will be using the web page. Okay, so this is our message saying that implicit embedding. What is implicit embedding is, if I write the script tag or JavaScript within the HTML code, this is our HTML program. So within the HTML program, if I write the JavaScript, then it is called as implicit embedding. Okay, now so I have this function here, and in the body tag I have just written click here for message, and I have a input tag, and that input tag is a button. So and I have written something called as a on click. On click is nothing but based on the click event of your mouse, I'm going to call this function called as message function. So where this message function is written, it is written in the JavaScript code. That is, within the script tag we have written this message, and the name of the button is click. Now, so that is nothing but whenever you are executing, whenever you are giving any event, for that event we are going to write some code in the JavaScript as a response to the event. Okay, so that is, as you can observe in the previous example, for the click event, once the click has been done, for that event we are going to execute this function. Okay, as a response to that event. Okay, now one of the common use of JavaScript is to check values provided in the forms by the user to determine whether the value are sensible or not. As I told you, JavaScript is basically used for client-side scripting. Client-side scripting is, if you have, or suppose if I just go to browser and click on some event, I'll go to Google. Now I'll just say I want to create something like a Gmail account. So I'll just write Gmail sign up. So I'll click here. I'm going to open. So I have already logged in, so can't do it. So okay, let it be. Whenever you want to register for anything, like for example, I'll just go to sign up, sign up for something. Okay, something like this. You can select any website. Now, if I'm trying to sign up here, so you can see some information has already been used there. Yeah, okay. So I want to just sign up to some information. See, this is our form. In this form, I have a username, I have some company work email and password and other things. Okay. Now, if I type something like this, ABC, and if I type some name, and if I type some password, if you now if I try to sign up, it should show me an error. So you can see, please include @ in the Gmail address, and it is asking the complete email address. See, I'm just clicking on it for sign up. It is asking me to use @ okay. So if I write @ also, then also if I click, it is not complete email ID. See, because it is incomplete. So this type of message, that is, while you give the input itself, so this information has to go to the server. Okay, so what is that server? Say just segment whatever website is there. This website has its own server. So this information what I have typed here, this word, this letter, and this passwords, whatever I've given, that those words has to be sent to the server for creating a new account. So before sending that information to the account, I'm going to check this information in my system itself. This type of function is nothing but we are going to provide, or it is called as validation. Okay, so it is going to check for invalid input data. Okay, as we have done that, if the data is not proper, it is going to check in the client side itself before sending it to the server. Okay, so you can see, when invalid data is found, the server must transmit the information back to the browser. Okay, so in sending the information to the server and taking response from the server will take more time. Okay, and it is time consuming, or internet time and server time both will be wasted if the data is not proper. For that purpose we'll be using client side scripting. Okay, so however, validating and checking is done on the server side, because client side validation checking can be like say it can be overridden. Okay, so basically the thing is, JavaScript is a programming language, or it is a event driven computation language which is used to check for the validation of the data before sending it to the server. Okay, now if you we have this program here, I'll try to execute this program. So I'll just minimize all these things. Now I have the program here. Now in this program I have just some message called as click me for message, and if I click on this button, you can see I have a message called as implicit embedding. So based on my action, it is going to give me the response saying that this is your response for the present event. Okay, which is nothing but we are doing client side scripting. Okay, and so this type of including JavaScript into HTML code will be divided into two different types. One is implicit, other one is explicit. Okay, so the output from the script becomes the next markup language. That is, whatever the output is given by the scripting language will be generating a separate web page that we'll see with an example program. Okay, so you can see when a JavaScript is encountered in the document, the browser uses JavaScript interpreter to execute the script. So every browser or the web browser what you're going to use will have inbuilt JavaScript interpreter. Okay, whenever the browser executes or comes through this particular word called as script or this tag called as script, it is going to use that interpreter for executing that script. Okay, that is what it does mean. So as I told you, we have two types there. One is implicit, other one is explicit. Okay, explicit is where the JavaScript code resides physically resides in HTML document, and implicit is so JavaScript can be placed in its own file and separated from HTML, which is called as implicit embedding. So we have two different types. One is explicit, other one is implicit. So in explicit, what happens? The JavaScript code is written into the HTML document itself. For example, if you consider this will be our explicit. So this will be our explicit embedding because I have written the JavaScript code within the say our HTML code itself, and I have written a code like here, so which is like implicit because we have a separate file in which I have written this code which is only scripting tag. Okay, so I'm going to close the script tag. I'm going to close the script tag here, have the script tag, and function name is message, and I have a message called as alert saying that implicit embedding. And here I have a function or a script tag. So here if I don't have this function call also, I can write something like src, which will be representing source. The source will be explicit, or the file name I have mentioned it as explicit, and its extension is .js. Okay, and here I'll change the message name as message1, and here I'll call message1. So I'll save this, and I'll save this also. If I try to execute my program, just execute my program so that we can see the output js.exp. So once I click this, I need to coming back to the program. In this program what we were discussing, which is implicit embedding. In the implicit embedding, as I told you, we'll have a script tag, and in the script tag we'll be using source. previously I have not mentioned the complete URL, so I'll be mentioning the complete URL of the file, which is explicit.js, and as I told you, .js stands for JavaScript. Now I have the explicit.js file here, so we should not include the script tag here. I have removed the script tag. Now I have only the function called as function msg. Okay, and I have mentioned the alert as this is what type of embedding. This is implicit embedding, where the file, we have two different files. One is your HTML file and one is your say JavaScript file. From HTML file we are going to call the JavaScript file. Okay, now so we'll try to execute this program. So if I execute this program, I have a message called I have something called as click here for message. Once I click, I'll get a message called as implicit embedding. So this is when you have two different files. One file will be your HTML file and one file will be your JavaScript file. So both are in a separate files. And the same thing, if I try to copy this and if I place it in the function itself or in the script tag itself, okay, and if I remove this source tag or source property, so then this type of representation will be your explicit. Okay, so this type of representation will be considering it as explicit embedding, where your HTML file itself is going to have your JavaScript code also. Now if I try to execute this and if I save it, I'll go to the file again. I'll close those things. We'll come back to the file. If I execute, when I click it, I'll see the message called as explicit embedding, which is uh, the JavaScript code is written within the HTML file. Within the HTML file, I have written the JavaScript tag also, so which will be acting as explicit embedding. So when you consider implicit, we'll be having two different files. Okay, so today's topic, I'll stop this session here. In the next session, we'll be explaining the some other topics. Thank you.